Yeah, like listen to your gut, trust your gut. Like in what we're doing, you have a lot of people try to tell you how to do it or not to do it. And I think that I would have done what I'm doing now 10 years earlier if I would just listen to what I really wanted to do.
Startup Junkie has been improving lives through innovation and entrepreneurship since 2008. Through our vast array of services, programs, events, and resources, we have been able to help develop Northwest Arkansas and beyond, one business at a time. It is with great pleasure that I get to announce our most recent resource, a brand new Startup Junkie podcast series where we grab a drink and talk to some pretty fascinating entrepreneurs and business owners. I'm your host, Daniel Koonce, and this is Business Buzz. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Business Buzz, a Startup Junkie podcast series where we grab a drink and talk to some pretty cool business owners. I'm your host, Daniel Koonce, and joining me today is Lewis Chase, one of the founders of Feed and Folly, City Park, and the new cocktail club, Guisinger. Lewis, thanks for coming on today.
I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor having you. We kind of like to start these things off. Give us your origin story. Where do you come from? What's your background? And
born and raised in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Okay.
My family on my mom's side's been here for a very, very long time. Where the Bank of Fayetteville building is now, it used to be called Lewis Brothers Hardware Store. Way back in the day, my cousins owned Lewis Ford. But like I said, I'm born and raised in Fayetteville. Went to Fayetteville High School, went to Arkansas, and then took a leap of faith right before COVID and got into the restaurant business. And
that's pretty awesome.
Background professionally, I did real estate prior to getting into restaurants.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome. What was your degree at the University of Arkansas?
Sports management.
Oh, really?
Yep. And so I came out the gate. I was working for a sports management company locally, and then got into real estate. And then, like I said, took the leap of faith and got 3 restaurants now. So
that's pretty awesome. And then I read somewhere that the restaurant business, 60% of them fail within the first year.
I think possibly more, to be honest with you. Yeah. When we first opened Feed and Folly, it went against every piece of advice that I had gotten from my father and just anybody else I talked to about it. So yeah.
Yeah. And you guys opened that March 2020?
Yeah, the day before COVID hit.
Quite literally maybe the worst time to open a restaurant.
We did a soft opening the next day. I was sitting there at lunch and the news popped up and it was like, I guess we're closing. So we didn't even get 24 hours before we had to close down.
Did you guys immediately just shut down?
We did. We were actually we did it before it was mandated. We saw it come in and we kind of took a proactive approach and started doing takeout only the second we heard the news. And then it seemed like the weeks after that, you had to do it. You had to close down. And so we kind of just got in front of it.
Yeah. Just did it on your own action. So when did you guys officially come back into a full-time in-person restaurant?
I honestly don't remember the date. The COVID blended. I think it did for everybody where I lost track of time.
Just a blur.
Just an absolute blur. And we started with just patio only because you could only have outdoor dining. And then it finally went, 6 months after that into a full restaurant. And so we finally got to see what it was about.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. I was reading online, doing some research. Someone described Feed and Folly as a gastropub, which is a pub that specializes in serving high quality food. Would you describe Feed and Folly as a gastropub?
Yeah, I think that's a good mark for it. One of the engines behind the creativity of that place was my partners are British. And so they've always missed that pub feel. And I think they missed the quality of the pub feel, but with handmade food, so I think that's something that we put a huge emphasis on is everything that we do is made in house, whether it's, a breading or a sauce. And so, yeah, I think that's a great way to describe what we're doing over there.
Okay. Glad the definition I got online was correct. Speaking of your partners a little bit, tell me a little bit about your business partners.
Yeah. So they're brothers, Matt and Michael Sutton. They're from Southport, England originally. And I met Mikey, who's my age, his brother Matt, my other partner's a few years older. But I met Mikey at Woodland Junior High in 9th grade.
Okay. Goes way back then.
Yeah. He just, he was new to the area, sat next to me and started talking. I was like, you don't sound like you're from around here. And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
And I'm a Liverpool fan too because of him. And so.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty cool. So you guys were friends. Whose idea was it? Who said, let's start a restaurant?
It honestly, I don't really remember. I think it was my idea. So Matt and Mikey, after high school, moved away. They moved to Austin, Texas for a while, ran restaurants, GM'd restaurants down there. And then Matt ended up in Durango, Colorado. Again, he took over a deli that was not doing too well, called his brother in for reinforcements. They were just killing it out there. And then they took over a brewery, implemented a whole food plan for them. I went out there for a bachelor party and tried both of the places. And I was like, man, this is so good. They were curing their own pastrami. They were doing all sorts of cool stuff. And that's kind of like when it started. I was like, man, Fayetteville's kind of missing out on some food options. What can I do to get you guys back here? And luckily, it's so expensive to live in Durango. They came back on their own accord.
It was easy to convince them.
It was very easy. Yeah.
Okay. That's really cool. Well, on your website, you describe yourself, Feed and Folly, as lively, welcoming, and warm, influenced by a respect for Southern traditions and house-cured and smoked meats. Can you talk a little bit about those influences and kind of what separates your guys' food menu?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting description. That probably was from like when we first opened.
Yeah.
And so like when we first opened, we did a lot of curing. We did our own pastrami, our own corned beef. And with just how busy the volume has gotten at Feed and Folly, we actually had to walk back from some of those things just because we ran out of room. Curing meat takes a ton of space. And so we're kind of locked in on space over there where we can't really get any more. But for us, like I said, a lot of the food on that menu is stuff that Mikey and Matt have done, for a long time. The fish and chips, obviously the English flair to that. Yeah. The Cumberland sausage for the bangers and mash is a family recipe for those guys. And so I think it's a really unique blend of, me growing up in the South with like the stuff my grandmother would cook for me, and then stuff from England. And so I think it's like a really unique blend and vibe that we've got going on over there.
Yeah, it's definitely unique. And it's something, like you said, Fayetteville's missing.
For sure.
It was the first thing like that here in the city.
Yeah, and I actually bartended when I was in college. And I worked at West End on Dixon Street or on West Street. And that's why we did the rooftop. Because I worked at a bar that had a rooftop. And I was like, why don't restaurants have a rooftop? And so that's where we started, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Your roots back at West End.
Yeah.
Side note, I got my fraternity pre-bed at West End.
There we go. Love it.
Yeah, got to shout out the fraternity. I would like to take a second to thank today's sponsor, Fossil Cove. Discover Fossil Cove Brewing Company, located in the heart of Fayetteville, Arkansas, just off of the Razorback Greenway. With a passion for creating unique and delicious craft beers, Fossil Cove is a staple amongst the craft beer community. Find their creations in the Fayetteville Tasting Room and all across Northwest Arkansas. If you want to learn more about Fossil Cove, go to fossilcovebrewing.com or check out the link in the description. Thanks again to Fossil Cove. Well, it's obvious that Feed and Folly has seen a lot of success over the years. When did the idea for City Park come?
City Park was actually what I tried to open before Feed and Folly.
Okay.
But we had a building or a property leased. It didn't work out. And when we started scrambling, the Feed and Folly building came available. Me and Mikey climbed up on that roof before the rooftop was there, saw the view. And so we kind of switched plans. And we're like, actually, we're going to do a gastropub first.
Yeah.
And then City Park. And so the plan for City Park was always there. It was just about finding the right location and, the timing of it.
And then kind of just backpacking off location, your 3 establishments are in great spots. For our listeners who don't know, Feed and Folly is right here off College. Right.
You can't miss it when you come to town, right?
Yeah, it's right off of downtown Fayetteville. And then City Park is off of Leverett. It's right there by that creek. And you got trails and a bunch of nature there. And then the new Guisinger is right here on the square. Right. So how important is it for the location of your spots?
I think it's, fairly important. But, for me at least, like I said, I did real estate. When we got the Folly building, people thought we were crazy because they thought it was a bad part of town and they thought we were too far off the square to get business. And they said that we didn't have enough parking. Yeah. Obviously, all 3 of those things have worked out for us. Same with City Park. That place was a tow yard. And it was pretty overgrown and nasty. We just I ride the bike trail all the time, happened to go by it. And there was a lease sign out in their yard one day, called and ended up talking them into selling it to us. Yeah. But again, when we started that project on Leverett, people were like, man, I don't know about that part of town. I don't think there's anything around there. And again, it's worked out so well for us. Yeah. The Guisinger is the only one that I would say that from the jump has been in a great location, and it's a building that if you're from Fayetteville, you're super familiar with.
Yeah, nobody doubted you when you were like, we're moving to that spot.
It honestly kind of scared me. It was the only place that we've opened that my dad was like, I think this is going to be great. And I was like, oh no, my dad likes it. Oh gosh.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. But kind of transitioning into City Park a little bit, since it is a little fairly new compared to Feed and Folly. It's kind of got like almost a Mexican vibe in terms of food. You know, you got nachos, quesadillas, tacos.
Right.
What kind of inspired that?
So again, you know, it's just about switching to what we were able to do. When we first had the plan for City Park, I wanted to have 4 different kitchens, and you could walk up to like a taco stand or walk up to a burger stand. Come to find out, you learn a lot when you do projects that City Park sits in a floodplain. And so I was not allowed to upgrade the building past half of its appraised value. And so I couldn't build all the kitchens I wanted. I had to change the plan completely. And so our whole plan was to try to give as many different offerings as we could, almost like an adult food court. So, you know, if you wanted tacos, we had tacos. If you wanted barbecue, we got barbecue. If you aren't a fan of either of those, we have some burgers, you know? Yeah. And so our plan there was just to try to get as many different foods out as possible. And it kind of turned in, like I said, with our restrictions of being kind of like a Tex-Mex inspired with burgers and, you know, even our barbecue. I'm not sure if you've had it that we sell on Fridays and Saturdays. It's also kind of got a little bit of a Texas, like Mexican flair to how we season it and do stuff.
Yeah, and then again, that's another kind of unique idea that Fayetteville's honestly kind of missing.
Right, and like I said, we got really into barbecue when Michael moved to Austin. You know, I remember standing in line at Franklin's Barbecue before it was popular, and it was still out of a trailer. And I just thought it was like the coolest thing in the world, and like the way they smoked the brisket, and the community like was waiting in line at 8 in the morning. I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. Bring a little bit of that here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it sounds like I need to go back on a Friday or Saturday and get some
absolutely,
barbecue.
Man. The brisket's fire.
Okay, well, I say that I was there last Friday, so I should have got it while I was there. And this isn't a question. This is just tipping my hat to you. Best frozen margarita I've ever had.
Love it. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm giving my props to you. It was pretty phenomenal.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you.
Also, I did notice, you know, you've got bartenders there. You got kind of food runners. You don't have any servers at City Park.
Right.
You have the QR code and you kind of just order at your own time, own leisure. What was the strategy behind that?
Well, one, it's just such a large place that, you know, trying to staff a place that is seasonal is pretty challenging, you know, and you want to take care of your workers. So you don't want to be finicky on their hours and stuff. And so for us, it just made the most sense. And we went to a place, I honestly don't remember where it was, that did that. And we just thought it was cool. You know, when we first opened Feed and Folly and we got out of COVID, we had to go to a reservation system because that we were busy. And it was like a 2-hour turnaround time. And it just kind of felt like rushed. And we were like, we have to do it this way, but it's not what we really like. And so for City Park with the name, we wanted people to be able to come, sit, be unbothered, and stay as long as they wanted. And we figured out the best way to do that is not have someone check on them all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
so, you know,
it feels like a park.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've even had people mistake us for a park. I got an email last week of a lady asking me why the splash pad wasn't open yet. And I was like, I think you're talking about Goalie Park. You know,
something completely different.
But yeah, so that's the reason we did that. Is just we wanted it to feel like you're in nature. You don't have someone being like, do you need anything? Do you, you know, kind of making you feel like you needed to hurry up. And so, and it's worked out.
I mean, it has. I mean, I was there, like I said, last week. I was reading. None of my roommates are home right now, so I was like, I'm going to get out of the house. I'm going to go grab a frozen marg and read. And I was just chilling there, you know, having a good time, enjoying it.
Spend all day.
It's something, I mean, I didn't even notice really. Is like, I was just kind of peaceful, kind of by myself. Like,
for sure.
No one's checking in on me. It's something I didn't even notice until like after the fact. Yeah. So I think that's pretty neat how valuable that is, but you don't even realize it.
For sure. And then the second you do need something, you know, like you said, we have food runners, we have bartenders. And so the second you want to be bothered, you can be. But at the same time, it's a big emphasis for us to just let people enjoy their time there and, you know, feel like they're in a park.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I was going through your menu at City Park. I know we've kind of touched on the food a little bit. Your most expensive item is only $9.99. Yeah. And that is the bowls you have. How do you keep your prices so low in 2024?
I got to give a lot of credit to Matt, my partner. You know, he does a lot of the pricing, and he's more of the back of house owner as far as like dealing with the food reps and stuff. But again, I think, you know, all three of us were in the service industry, Mikey and Matt for their whole lives, essentially, and me, during college and even in high school. And so I think it's important you're in a college town. I remember being in college, I was always on a budget. I could barely afford anything. And so I think that's just like a big point for us. And then you start talking about the areas of town that we've put our establishments in, South Fayetteville, is known to be a lower income, lower, livable area. And so again, we don't want to price out our neighbors. Same with City Park, it's on the bike trail. It's on the U of A bus stop pass, and we have students all around us. And so for us, I think it's just about trying not to price people out of a good time, and again, it's just something that Matt has done a really, really good job of.
Shout out to Matt. Then.
Yeah, shout out to Matt for sure.
Yeah.
I always go to, I'll be honest, I'm the bad guy in that scenario because I'll go to another restaurant and I'll send them a price. I'm like, look, they're charging this, bro. Like we're charging $10 less. But again, it's just, we want to be affordable for everybody, And
no, it's a good business,
Yeah, definitely.
You come there and you see I can get a double smash burger with cheese for $8.50.
Oh, yeah.
Like
it's a good deal,
That's
man.
a good deal right there.
Right.
I mean, I think it's more expensive at Whataburger now if I wanted to do that.
I'd probably so.
Yeah,
and you can get like a cheap bucket of beer, and like, again, we want to be a place that doesn't price people out, and we can still make money to live our lives, pay our employees, but, never make anybody feel like that they have to, break the bank to take their family there.
Yeah.
So
the target audience for kind of City Park, maybe Feed and Folly is families, maybe even college students.
Yeah.
It's a little different for the Guisinger, isn't it?
It is,
What's the target audience for the cocktail club?
For the cocktail club, man, again, it's 21 and up there. It's our only establishment that you have to be 21 years of age to get to. But for us, we just feel like, again, I'm from Fayetteville my whole life. And when I was in college, people didn't go to Bentonville and Rogers at all. And we started seeing all these really nice businesses, which I love, open up there, which is great. But I kind of felt like it was our duty to open a place for like I got out of college. I don't want to go to Dixon. I'm still don't have kids or a family, and I want to be social and have a drink, be able to talk. And there's not people reaching over me to order a drink. And so, I guess like the young professional crowd, I guess,
Yeah, maybe 20s.
Yeah, 20s to early 30s. And then even, people my parents' age, because, I'll go out with my parents and like we went to Maxine's, love Maxine's, but it's, it's pumping, it's loud, it's dark.
Loud.
It's like my parents can't hear, they can't see. And so like we really wanted to create a place that you could go have a drink, feel elevated, and it wasn't too crowded.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you've been to the Guisinger, but if you don't have a seat, we don't let you in. So we don't just like bar traffic in there.
Exactly.
And so we try to do a really good job of just monitoring the flow of people. So the vibe for everybody stays the same.
Yeah.
I
have been to Guisinger 3 times strictly for research, not because, I like drinking or anything. But I do really enjoy it. I feel like the first time I was there, I was in one of the private rooms. And I felt like I was like Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders.
I love that. Yeah.
It feels like it's like a New York, Brooklyn, like cigar lounge. Almost.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So the vibe is just drastically different from the other 2 establishments you've opened. So I think that's pretty cool, pretty neat.
Yeah, man. Just trying to hit the head on everything, and try to be diverse with what we're doing. We don't want to open something that, competes directly with itself. And so, that's one thing that we've really tried to emphasize is do stuff that's different and hits a different range of people, even though that range still overflows with the same people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you're 3 for 3 on that. Like,
thanks, man.
It's just like 3 for 3 on introducing a new thing to Fayetteville. So I think that's wildly impressive.
Thanks.
Not something you see a whole lot of.
Right. And then those private rooms you spoke of, we call them snugs.
Snugs.
So again, it's a British term from pubs.
Yeah.
Because they go to pubs and there's a ton of private rooms. And that's something the boys, when we first walked into that building, and those snugs have been there for years. They were like, oh, this reminds me of home, and to your point, like you can be in the snug and get a different vibe. You can sit upstairs in the lounge area and have a different vibe, or sit downstairs. And I feel like it gives you 3 like different perspectives, to try out,
Yeah.
So you got to keep coming back.
I guess I gotta try out every single spot.
You do. Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. I kind of want to talk about the menu at the Guisinger.
Yep.
You've got a bunch of unique drinks. I'll give you credit again. I know I'm kind of bragging on you right now, but the drink menus, it's crazy. Like you have the sake teeny martini, which I've never seen. Saketini. Is that how you
Yeah,
say it?
sake. Yeah,
Saketini.
it's a local sake too from Hot Springs.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you got the Saketini. You got the 3 dots and a dash cocktail, and then my favorite, you had the seasonal Dark Side of the Bloom.
It's a good one.
Who curated this menu?
So I got to give our head bartender and our manager Whit Nicholson. Yeah, I got to give him a huge shout out to that. But really, it's just all of us coming together and seeing stuff at other places that we admire. Mikey and Matt's sister and mother were in England recently, and they're the ones that told us about the porn star, because I guess that's a big drink over there right now that's really popular. And so I think it's just like paying attention to what's kind of popular out there, and then having someone like Whit, who worked for us at Feed and Folly before he came over, and has been bartending, since for the last 3 years. And so he's really up to par on, knowing what is popular, what people are looking for. And so I think it's just a combination of all that coming together.
Yeah. And for anyone who hasn't been there or it's just listening online, the porn star is a drink.
It is a drink.
It's a drink on the menu.
Passion fruit martini.
Passion fruit martini came with what? A little bit of champagne?
Sidecar champagne. Yeah. So like passion fruit's kind of bitter and sweet. And so it's supposed to like cut that. So you take a sip of the porn star and then you take a sip of the champagne and kind of clean your palate. And then go back. Some people have just been floating it too.
I took the champagne like a shot, and I was like, perfect. "Oh, that was a lot right there."
It's meant to be sipped as you're enjoying the porn star. Yeah,
good to know. I was unaware of that.
It's okay. Like I said, the first night we opened, some girls were just dropping them in the glass like a bomb, and just going after it. So it worked out.
You can drink however you choose.
You can do whatever you'd like.
In the Guisinger, you can do whatever
we don't have
you
rules.
want.
We have suggestions, just not rules.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, talking about maybe kind of the names of your establishments. The Guisinger, that was named after the Guisinger Music House.
Yeah, and it's on the building. It's in the National, Historic Registry as that. And we went around trying to brand it. We actually came up with a few different names, but it was written all over the place, and it was just hard to get away from. And like I said, my mom, being from Fayetteville, the Guisinger is something to her. And then like the amount of people we've had come through that's been like, oh, I took a piano lesson in here, or I worked at the Odom Law Firm and my office was in this snug. It's been really cool to see how much history that building has for different people.
Yeah. So the name was just, it was
there.
It was
too
there.
good.
You couldn't not use it.
Couldn't. Yeah. It was that was the easiest branding that we've had so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty cool. And then City Park, that was named after Fayetteville City Park, right?
Yeah. So Wilson Park.
It's now known as Wilson.
Yeah. It used to be called City Park. And again, it wasn't something that Mikey, my partner, is the one that kind of came up with it because we were struggling. And we really like to try to play off the history of Fayetteville when we make a name on something. And it just kind of worked out. We found this unanimous quote. I always mess that word up, but a quote about that park online from like 1907 or 1927. And it just like described what we were trying to build so well. We're like, all right, I guess we're City Park now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
once again,
that's where we came up with that.
Yeah. Once again, kind of easy branding.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. Just digging through some books at the library of the city of Fayetteville history is how we found that one. And then Feed and Folly was probably the weirdest because, that was the question I was going to have. Yeah. Where does that come from? Well, so our restaurant group with us 3 boys are actually called the Dudes of Folly.
Yeah.
And I could go into the story for like 30 minutes. I'll try to keep it short. But basically in Southport, England, there's a statue of William Sutton in their downtown area, which is Mikey and Matt's like great uncle.
Way up the
way back there. And he was known as the Duke of Folly. So he was a pretty eccentric guy, and Southport is on the north coast of England. And he tried to like open a beach club, which I guess the weather there is not the nicest for beach clubs. So everybody used to call him the Duke of Folly because he was kind of wild. And so like whenever his mom told me the history of that, I was like, the Duke of Folly is such a cool like moniker to have named after. So we started messing with it, and then all of a sudden Feed and Folly kind of came into play, and we were looking at it, and it kind of, to us, it was like feeds the food, folly is the fun and the drink.
Fun. Yeah, the whimsy.
And so it ended up going well, and we worked with Archetype in South Fayetteville with that, and once it hit for all of us, it was like a light went on. It was like, that's perfect.
That's it. Just rolls off the tongue.
It does, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no. Kind of mentioned earlier how difficult it is to start a restaurant, start an establishment that serves food nowadays. So you've done it 3 times. I would say you kind of make it look a little easy, which I guarantee it's not. So kind of touch on what are some of the challenges you've seen over the years?
I mean, the challenges are everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to pinpoint. just going through development plans, dealing with architects, contractors, neighbors. It's quite a lot, but to be honest with you, what's made it easy is there's 3 of us. Both my other partners are incredibly experienced in restaurants. And for City Park and the Guisinger, what's been so awesome is a lot of our employees that help us open those places have come from Feed and Folly.
Yeah.
So it's people that we've worked with for a couple of years that, know what we expect and kind of how we like to run our businesses. And we can kind of train and cultivate that relationship with them there and then bring them on at other restaurants. And so that's made it a lot easier for us, having really good employees that help us do that.
Yeah. It seems like you've established a good culture around your work crew.
For sure. Yeah. And I got to give a lot of credit to like the managers and the GMs we have in place. They've done a great job of keeping that culture and a place that people want to work attractive.
Yeah. No, that's really neat. So you kind of touched on earlier Matt's roles. He's kind of behind the scenes guy, maybe behind the kitchen. Can you talk more about maybe Michael's role and your role?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, we overlap everything we do.
Yeah, sure.
Matt is just more focused on the back of house and just communicating with the staff and making sure everything's going well. Mikey is kind of a jack of all trades. Like if there's a problem, Mikey's the guy to call. If it's technical, if it's internet, if it's, a vendor, Mikey's the guy to call. And then for me, I'm a little bit more on the front end of it, where I like to come up with the branding, the location, the concept, and the decorations. Like the Guisinger, every piece of furniture and everything in there, I picked out.
Really?
Yeah, and so that's something that I just really enjoy doing. And so, like I said, I'm real stressed and busy at the front end, help get it going, and then I'm lucky enough to have Matt and Mikey kind of do the day-to-day stuff that check in to make sure everything's going.
Yeah. And if anyone has a sports question, I'm sure they come to you as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure that being a real estate agent kind of helps with that too, kind of just the appearance and how everything's looking.
Yeah,
the setup of all your establishments.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. And honestly, growing up, my mom was an interior decorator. Mm-hmm. She decorated cabins and stuff, and would always take me to weird little trade shows and Prairie Grove flea markets and all this stuff. And I never thought I liked it, and then come to find out that it actually helped me quite a bit in doing what I'm doing now. And so
just kind of get a unique flair.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really cool. Well, I know that Guisinger,
the Guisinger
just opened in April, so
right.
It's June as we're recording this.
Very new.
So very new. But what is next for the Dudes of Folly?
That's a great question. I think we're sorting through that right now. Matt is about to have a baby.
Okay. Yeah.
And so next month, and so we'll get through that as a team, and we'll see where we land. But this whole area is full of opportunities, and so I don't know what's next, but certainly be something. Yeah. I'd like to think in the next year or so.
Yeah, I mean, the Fayetteville's just kind of blowing up.
It is, man. There's just a ton of room. There's a ton of room for hospitality in Fayetteville. I think so, and really just in Northwest Arkansas in general.
Yeah. Especially kind of just like the outside vibe too. I know the Guisinger does it's all inside. Correct?
It is, yeah.
But the other 2 establishments are very outside. Very nature focused.
Very weather dependent.
The rooftop at Feed and Folly. We've had several business meetings on that rooftop.
It's the best place for it.
It's the best place for it.
Yeah.
We can just really focus there.
Yeah,
after eating all the appetizers and getting drinks.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. So we kind of like to shut these things down, end with a question. So you've had 3 great establishments, very successful. What you don't have is a time machine. If you did have a time machine, you can go back in time, give yourself a piece of advice. It could be to last week. It could be to 15 years ago. However far back you want to go, what's something you tell your younger self?
I would say listen to your instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen to your gut, trust your gut. In what we're doing, you have a lot of people try to tell you how to do it or not to do it. And I think that I would have done what I'm doing now 10 years earlier if I would just listen to what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
that'd be my advice. That's good advice. Just trust your gut.
Trust your gut. And then once you make a decision, go all in.
Yeah.
Don't do anything halfway. If it's something that you truly want to do, put yourself out there and really risk it.
Yeah.
Give yourself a chance.
Yeah, don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Just go for it.
Just go for it.
That's pretty good advice right there. So if any of our listeners, watchers want to find out more about the Dudes of Folly or any of your businesses, where should they go?
Instagram and Facebook are probably the best places to keep up with our businesses. The Guisinger, I'm apologize to every single person that's tried to call the Guisinger. Our phone's in the basement and no one ever answers it. And so if you got a question, hit me up on the Instagram and I'll get back to you really quick.
Okay. Yeah. Also, I did try to find your menu online for the Guisinger.
Well, we're working on that as well.
It's nowhere.
We're about to switch the menu.
Okay.
At least the food menu quite a bit.
All right.
And then we'll get our website activated better.
Okay. Why are you switching it?
Just our chef over there. It's our first place we've had a chef, and he wants to do it. Yeah. And he's really good. And so
you give him a little bit of creative freedom to do it.
Yeah, we're gonna let him go with it. And so
that's pretty cool. Yeah. I had to go to your Instagram because I wanted to mention a couple drinks from the menu.
Yeah.
Because all I knew was the porn star. That's the only one I remembered the name of. And I went to your Instagram, tagged, scrolled down to someone's reel video, and they were showing the menu through an Instagram reel. I'd pause it and take notes on that.
We like to have a little mystery. You got to work for it.
Yeah, you have to come to the cocktail club.
You got to show up to see it. Yeah.
That's
the other
cool.
spots that doesn't work as well, but at the Guisinger, I feel like you can have a little, mystique on everything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, to all our listeners, followers out there, we'll link your Facebook and Instagram accounts in the description of YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. I'd also like to remind our listeners to subscribe to Startup Junkie on YouTube, follow the Startup Junkie podcast on Apple Music or Apple Podcast and Spotify, and just check us out on LinkedIn and startupjunkie.org to stay up to date with all of our events. Lewis, thanks for coming in today.
Hey, cheers. Thanks so much for having me. Also, appreciate it.
Thank you to Fossil Cove for sponsoring this episode.
Fossil Cove. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ben.
All right.